This is John Bowen, and I want to welcome you to the adventures of Jonathan, Rick, and John. About ready to go up to Half Dome at 5:30 in the morning on Thursday, August 25th. Ready for a big adventure. Made it to the first leg, a little hazy photo, but Vernal Falls. And we still have pretty big smiles, and we're heading up. This is the top of the falls. You can see the sign. It says, "You should not swim here," and a little blow up of that, and you can see unfortunately the two young people who died a couple weeks before who didn't follow that sign. There were actually 3 people that died in that one. 17 deaths at Yosemite so far this year, almost all because of decisions people made. Here we are safely at the top of Vernal Falls, overlooking just a beautiful sight. A little tired already, and but raring to go. We see the trail sign, so we continue. You can see an awful lot of granite along the way. The next stop is Nevada Fall, and that's 1.6. You can see it off in the distance. Jonathan and I are just having a great time. All kinds of adrenaline as you're going up, and you're ready for hard charge. We're up past the falls, long flat trails, and we're just for the moment now we get to see Half Dome, the beginning of it, kind of the backside, which you normally wouldn't see. Still a long way off. There's a subdome that's below, which is I think actually the hardest part of the trip, and then Half Dome. You can see as you come to Subdome, permits are now required to go up Half Dome, and there's a park ranger, and they make sure everyone is all set and ready to go and has their permit, or they won't let you go up. This is going up Subdome. You know, fair number of people here. This kind of everybody slows down a bit. It's very steep. It's all granite, and you just keep moving up. But you see Half Dome in the distance, and then as you start coming over Subdome, you see the cables. That's usually where the adrenaline starts going a little higher, particularly for the first-timers, Jonathan and I, and particularly Jonathan because he's afraid of heights. He did this to kind of conquer it, and I think he did. Continued up, and you can see groups like us where they're caucusing with strategy and so on. We were one of the few non-20, almost everybody's 20s or 30s. A lot of young girls, too, going up, but mostly, 20, 30-somethings. You can see the cables looking down, and we still haven't ventured up yet. Or actually, that's me right there, kind of going with the crowd. That's one of the challenges. You want to blaze up. And I guess there's Jonathan there. We want to blaze up, but we got people in front of us, as well as Jonathan's raring to go. I, on the other hand, I'm okay going each step. You can see I've got the poles about 10 feet apart, and then a wood board. I would just go 10 steps up and or 10 feet up, and then stop for a second and just continue. Jonathan, on the other hand, the second he got an opening, this is a great picture of him, just raced up. The amazing thing when you're very athletic and afraid of heights, amazing how quick you can go up. I, on the other hand, I don't have quite the smile I normally have. A little tired. Also, my dishwashing gloves actually worked out phenomenally well, although they're not very stylish. And continued going up, huffing a little bit. But when I get up to the top, I call my honey Jeannie and tell her that made it safely. I'm eating half a sandwich that Jonathan gave me, and got my pockets full of towels, wiping off the sweat and so on. And then we did one of my favorite things. Shoes came off, rested for about 20 minutes or so, a little nappy poo, and it's something being up on top of the mountain like that, feeling like you really accomplished amazing feat. To me, it's amazing how big of an accomplishment it felt. And this probably sums it up best. We're on over what they call the cave, and I'll show another picture of it in a second. But just putting my, celebrating, down below on the right, you can see Yosemite Valley. That's where all the camps are. The Ahwahnee Hotel where we started. So it was one heck of an adventure. There I am in the cave. This, unfortunately, a couple people have died in here from, they tried to hide out from lightning strikes. One of the key things you don't do if it's raining, afternoon thunderstorms are really prevalent. So you start early going out to avoid the chance of thunderstorm. We were perfectly clear. Matter of fact, it was about 90 degrees when we got up to the top. And those of you who know me, I handle heat poorly. So this was quite an adventure. Fortunately, a nice breeze, so it wasn't too bad. During the course of the whole trip, I drank, I believe, a little well over 2 gallons of water. That's one of the things that's so amazing. It was great having Rick along. He brought a filter, and he had done the trip 31 times, so he knew where the water sources were in the spring. So we were properly hydrated, and I think because of that, I don't hurt. It's amazing the difference it made along the way. Wanted to get a look. Rick encouraged me that you need to get a look over the edge of Half Dome. And hard to put this into perspective in the picture, but this is hanging over the side looking down, and it is a sheer drop. Normally there's some climbers, we didn't see any, and I didn't really want to hang out too long given the propensity for earthquakes to see it. And there Rick took a picture of me hanging over the side. It is a little steep, would be an understatement. Also, while we were at top, we saw this plume of smoke come up, and it ended up, this was a major disaster caused by an RV. Their propane tank blew up. What happened, caught on fire. Route 140 was closed, which I had an hour longer to go home. Instead of a 3-hour drive, I had a 4-hour going Route 120. But the other thing that was amazing is it brought down the power for all of Yosemite Valley. Fortunately, we were camping at the Ahwahnee Hotel, and any of you who know the Ahwahnee, not too hard at camping. They had generators, so we were in great shape. You can see Jonathan, Rick, and I kind of hanging out at the top, a little sweaty, a little tired, but ready for the next adventure going down. And one of the things Rick brought along was I think it's called an inclinometer, measure incline, and you can see that it ranged from really 30 to 45. I don't think it got up to 50, the incline at the cable. But it's pretty darn steep. It's an amazing sight. Now, going down, Jonathan kicked my ass going up. But going down, the fear heights was a little bit harder for Jonathan. He took it nice and slow. Did a phenomenal job, though. On the other hand, I coasted down as quick as possible because where I could have used a little bit more training. David, if you watch this on the way up, the arm strength was probably the only thing that was a little slow. On the way down, gravity works really well, and I don't have a fear height, so it's just kind of sliding down pretty quickly. You know, you still run into the crowds, and trying to work around with a fanny pack with poles tied to it and so on, and being as petite a guy as I am, it's a little bit of a challenge. Also, you might notice down at the bottom there's a pile. These are piled of used gloves. They're really trash. Definitely, if you decide to do this hike, bring your own gloves. I would get mine were actually phenomenal, other than you should have the breathable side on the right hand. You want heavy gloves, not just garden gloves, to go up the steel cable. There's an amazing moment. You make it down, and you're now the poles are ready to go, and look out. It's a long trip down, and I'd actually say going down was the hardest part. Not so much because of the steepness, although that wears on your knees, but just the adrenaline going up is so high. Going down, you're kind of like, how come the helicopter can't pick us up and just take us there? Both Jonathan and I were fantasizing about beer, wine, and steaks. We're now off Subdome. We're taking a break, and you can see I'm really good at doing that. And we just we feel like we accomplished a lot, and we did. From there, we're kind of going the long trail. It's a long walk, but celebration every step. I don't know how many steps there are. Rick was trying to count them, and I think he'll put it up on his blog, but just an amazing amount of steps going down. A backpacker camp along the way. Some of the people do it in a 2-day trip where they backpack up and then camp in Little Yosemite Valley. I think it's easier to just do a 1-day, go up and get it over with. Jonathan, one of the key is having these poles, particularly on the downside. You're just a lot more stable. There's so many granite. It's so easy to slip and fall that, this just makes you so secure. Also, we'd see people bringing up just a couple quarts of water. You're just setting yourself up for being hugely dehydrated. The same thing with sneakers. It's really slippery, particularly the cables. Just granite, so many people going up. In a day, they issue issue, I think, about 400 permits, but so many people don't show up that about 250 people on a weekday. So it's really, other than at the cable and the top of Half Dome, you have it to yourself. So it's an amazing thing for those who have been to Yosemite. When it's flat, it's just packed. It's a huge amount of tourism. 4 million people a year visit it. But this is one of the most popular, strenuous, challenging hikes that you can do in a day. And for a lot of it, you have it to yourself. Happy moments going down. You run into a few people, different paces and so on. But you're just happy you're on your way, but you're wondering, where is Awani? And then you'll see these young guys, this guy's kind of racing up, some super athletic people. The record actually is 2.5 hours going up and down the trail. We took a little over 13 hours. Now, we did stop a lot along the way, both resting for water breaks, filling up water, that type of thing, pumping it, filtering it. But we're also, Rick is known as Mr. Half Dome, and if you do a quick search on Google, you'll see that he's got an extremely popular blog. And he had a shirt on, Mr. Half Dome, and so many of the hikers had been reading his blog to get prepared that they wanted to stop and talk with him. So he stopped and talked a lot. Jonathan and I think for the most part really enjoyed that. I know I did. Getting the stories from Rick because he's so knowledgeable about the hike, being so prepared because of our relationship as a friend with him. But then, I liked a little bit more of the quiet time. Taking the pace was perfect. Again, what you'll see is the water picks up in the afternoon. So as we're coming down, this is the mist. It's called the Mist Trail. We didn't really have as much mist going up, but because of the heat of the day, it starts melting the snow, so the mist starts picking up. Well, this is great because it's about 90 degrees. You're really hot, and you can see Jonathan leading the pack here. It is, the trail is a little slippery, not that bad, surprisingly. But you just take it really slow, but all of a sudden we're finally getting cooled down. And here we are at the end of all this. You can see Half Dome. It was 8.2 miles up and back, almost a mile higher, and there's a little bit of down, so it's well over a mile of elevation change. I don't think we look too worth, for wear. I mean, we made it. We were pretty happy about that. And then my favorite part, the meal, was phenomenal at the Awani. We had a great visit, kind of debriefed, and on to our next adventure. I'd encourage anyone who's thinking about doing it to be prepared and check out Rick's blog at Mr. Half Dome. With that, enjoy your adventures as well. I did.